Hi, everybody, and welcome back to the Rise podcast with me, your host, Katie Oman, women's empowerment coach, author, book coach, and all-around a fabulous human being. I started this podcast because I really believe in the power of stories. I think they have the power to inspire, to empower, and to lift us up, to be that light in the darkness. And by hearing each other's stories, we can help ourselves through this journey called life. We're very honored today because I have the first man on this podcast, and I'm really, really happy that he agreed to come on. So this may be slightly different from what you're expecting, but I think it's going to offer us a whole new set of way of thinking, which we're definitely here for. So Thomas, Janak, thank you so much for being here, my darling. I really appreciate it.
You're well welcome. And yay, I'm the first man. That's
Yay!
nice.
Oh, bless you. No, it's going to be good. It's really, because it's very easy to kind of niche down, and this with the work you do. And
I actually have these conversations a lot with people when we talk about healing, and about the fact that when you do any healing, eventually when you have a one-on-one client, you do not see gender. No. You just see what needs to be done.
Yes, exactly. And opening up that conversation to all different types of people allows us to have all different types of experiences, of course.
Absolutely.
So,
absolutely. Yeah.
Absolutely. So,
and I'm sort of aware that I'm actually a minority. Gentlemen are still a minority in our own fields.
Yeah.
I remember living with the Irish, bless them, years ago. I've been living in England now for 14 years. And a lot of them assumed that I must be gay because a bloke would not teach Reiki. Anyway, I mean, they have also, now that has changed, luckily. But in the beginning, I was like, do I defend myself? Will I just let it go? It in the end, it just cracked me up.
Oh, bless you. But
so
anyway,
it was good fun to just see how confused they would be. That I would say, like, have you heard of Reiki?
Well, let's start at the beginning, and so let's kind of get you introduced to everybody at home. So tell us who you are, what you do, all that beautiful stuff.
Okay, so my name is Thomas Janak. I am originally from a place called Offenbach am Main, which is next to Frankfurt. There used to be one city, so that's why I say to everybody I'm from Frankfurt. The people from Offenbach hate it when I do this because they still want to be separate.
Yeah.
And I've been living abroad now for 24 years. And so that gave me a lot of a different perspective on things. And I do not necessarily use a lot of titles, because for the most part, they're just given to you when you do certain things. My guides found me when I was 5. I thought everybody can talk to birds and animals. And then my father took me to all these doctors because he thought there's clearly something wrong with me. So for the most part, I do what would be termed shamanic work. And for the most part, I give workshops where people can experience a themed weekend. So I do Tibetan, Mongolian, Egyptian, North American shamanism, where I then invite in these guides for people to enjoy and experience them for the first time, travel to the Pleiades, whatever I feel is in there. And then the other thing I do a lot is sound bath.
Right.
Because they're just the most amazing thing of all the things I do, and it cracks me up because I don't drive. And then I always get like, how do I get all that bloody stuff there? But I think when it comes to experience, that's what I've been doing all my life. I used to have regular jobs and then decided eventually it's really not me. I go back to this. And now I've been self-employed for over 20 years, and I lived literally in 3 countries with it. So it does still sustain me, so for everybody out there who knows that your spiritual work wants to be seen, don't be afraid, I never will make the money back that I made when I worked as a team leader in UPS, so be it, but when it comes to doing what you really love and helping others in the process, there's nothing better. So from that point of view, for people out there who are worried, I noticed the one thing when I went, when I decided, okay, it's time I do this. Like anybody else, I did this part-time thing. And I can understand it, and I understood it logically. When you do it part-time, you have some income. And then I noticed, because I wasn't going 100% for it, I had less opportunities. And once I said, F it, I'm going to do that, opportunities opened, doors opened. And there's an old phrase, jump and the net will appear.
Yeah.
And it did appear. So in short, that's sort of mostly what I do. I see myself as an educator, even though it's a bit of a weird word. It just means that I'm getting asked a lot to explain what I do.
Yes.
so,
No, absolutely.
so I teach. There's the development class here in Janak, and I teach the advanced versions. So I do, from tea leaf readings to past life regression, anything that people could possibly be interested in. I try to explain it in under 2 hours, which is always good fun. Because I think people have enough trouble understanding a word I'm saying with my accent. So it's good, so I find it hilarious having to do all this in very short time. But that's the bulk of my life, is to help people rather than telling them what to do. I give them hints. And then obviously they can experience treatments if they book them, and I do sound bars that they can come to. But for the most part, it gives them an overview of what's out there. So I'm doing a lot of public talks, and then I do my readings in fairs and stuff, So that's sort of what I do. So I bump about a lot. You find myself on public transport that never works, which is nothing that cracks me up. I just, for the most part, I just find it funny. Because you get to meet a lot of people by saying, "Excuse me, is this the right stop?" Kind of stuff. So yeah, and like I said, they found me. That none of this was planned, and it informed my entire existence. But because I was a child, it's not something that I had to grow into.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. But I noticed when I actually changed countries. So when I left Germany, after 33 years of growing up there, I could literally become who I am, because a lot of people, especially when you're young and impressionable, would judge me on it. And so you hide it for a while. And when I then sort of, when the way I felt like, okay, so nobody holds me back now. And it was interesting because I was asked repeatedly by my family and family members in Germany, I don't understand the word you're saying with your bloody English. They would say, why don't you give workshops in Germany? And I was like, okay, let's do this. And coming from a family of salesmen, I thought, like, if I go to Germany, I have to work, because if I don't work, nobody else pays my bills. So I said, knowing that the train system, when I did this last 10 years ago, was perfect, I organized workshops in Berlin, Hamburg, and Frankfurt. So I actually worked all week, went home with some earnings and met the family, the dreaded family. And it was interesting to see that the people who once held me back had to pay money to come see me.
Wow.
And that just showed me, number one, it was sort of like, yeah, sort of the non-spiritual part of me, like, and then the other side was like, how amazing is this?
Yeah. Absolutely.
And I think it helped because they could see me from a different point of view.
Yeah.
Because they would sometimes even, which is so weird, they would say like, from England. And I was like, don't do that. I sound more German than any other German that I know, from England. So to me, again, it cracks me up because people didn't expect me, hello, good afternoon. And here I am, So what I get confronted with a lot is people's expectations, and I never meet them.
Yeah.
Because I kind of go like, what expectations could you possibly have when you really don't know anything about it?
I love that though. Genuinely, I love that, because I think being a spiritual teacher, educator, however, a healer, however you want to kind of label ourselves or see ourselves, I think there is a certain level of expectation. I really do. And I think, yes, it's given from the people around us. And there are many different levels of that, of course. I think sometimes we have to be careful we don't hold expectations of ourselves for ourselves as well. I think what I realized doing my, I do coaching, as I said, now I'm doing a psychology degree. So I'm like literally the spirit and the mind, is that expectations will trip you up like nothing else. Absolutely. They really will. And Absolutely. Do you find that as you get older, I suppose, and more into this path and more into your authenticity, do you find that expectations just are they shifting the way that you see them and the way you see yourself, I suppose? Yes, I find that. I also find that, sounds really weird, I always expected me to have a problem with aging because my entire family is afflicted by that. Yeah. I mean, everybody goes like, oh, Jesus, look at me, blah, blah, blah. And I always hear that. So I had dyed my hair
for 30 years black because I thought it looks great. Then people said to me like, oh, you want to look shamanic. And then I was like, you obviously have never been to China. You know, or wherever, you know, because they only understand this from a Native American point of view.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, that's just another thing that people see in me. I don't really care. Eventually I said, I'm not going to dye my hair because I had used henna dye, you know, for the most part. My hair turned green, orange, yellow, and red. Again, it cracked me up. I looked like the Joker. I mean, literally. Which again, I find that funny because you can't hide it. And then people looking at me like, wow, you know, so I find that hilarious. Anyway, and then eventually I noticed, let's just see how I would look with a beard because I'm not right. So I had that beard. And then I noticed, well, it's gray, you know, but I have mantras. I have mantras. I wake up in the morning for the most part. I don't do it that regular, but I wake up in the morning and I shout my head off. You know, girlfriends hate it, cats hate it, but I just wake up in the morning and I do this heavy metal thing, go like, I'm awesome. You know, and then the cats just look at me, where's the food? But because it cracks me up, I have a higher energy.
Yeah.
And what I do is that the first time I see a mirror, I kind of go like, ooh, Richard Gere gray. And it makes no sense to anybody, and probably makes no sense, but it cracks me up. And I noticed if you want to empower yourself before you empower others. And I noticed just simple things by like being kind to yourself.
Yeah.
And saying, I am worth it, I am good enough, is really important. So whenever I do a workshop, I have little posters in stands that I put around the room that says you are enough, you are loved, your past doesn't define you, all these kind of things. And I do believe that the people who need to see a specific message will see it.
Oh, for sure. Absolutely. I love that. And it is so true, isn't it? Like for all of our supposed elevated vibrations and consciousness and connection, it's really hard, I think, sometimes to not buy into that aesthetic and the westernized view of beauty, and to still care about what you look like. And I'm not saying that people shouldn't care what they look like. I'm not saying that, you know, any spiritual teacher, writer, healer should just go, it doesn't matter. But it's almost like, I guess the question you have to ask yourself is, why do you care so much? And who do you care? Who's it for? Right? Yes. So like, I care what I look like because it makes me feel good. It raises my vibration because it makes, so it's an empowering thing for me. If I start to care about what I look like for other people and other people's opinions of me, that's not empowering. So I think you always have to question, what are you doing and why? That's because that's what I try to do anyway.
Absolutely. I also feel that this is related to where we live. So obviously, I know the English, they always say like, I'm going to Europe next month. And then my brain was like, you are in Europe. What are you talking about? So there's this separation. This is England, this is the United Kingdom, and this is Europe. And I don't see it. I have a European identity. I don't see it. Right? I mean, I'm now a resident of the UK, but if it would be seen as being a resident of Europe, that's what I would be. You know, but I believe it has to do with the latitude, because all of Europe lives under the latitude of Taurus.
Right.
So between 30 and 60 degrees is the latitude of Taurus. We're living in the 50s. Which means Taurus is this, has this idea of when Taurus is not happy, for the most part, not all Taurians do that, but a lot of Taurians buy stuff to see that they're doing well.
Yeah.
As a sign, they're like, there's not necessarily that they're showing off, but they want the home to be immaculate when they have guests. And I'm a Pisces, I'm an artist, I just don't look, you know, but you see the difference. And I believe that because we're living under that latitude, that obviously it has an effect on us. Because we know, obviously I do astrology as well, and we know that wherever the planets are affect your life. So therefore, living under a specific latitude for the majority of your existence will affect you.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
You know?
I've thought of it. I didn't even know that. That's interesting because I'm a Taurian moon. And so I, of course, your moon is your emotional self, and I can feel that kind of like trying to look externally to make yourself happy and make yourself feel better, you know, rather than being like, you realize it comes from within, which is part of the journey, of course. So it's really interesting.
Because shamanically, the belief is Well, we really call it the knowledge is, but you can't assume that people know. So the belief is that we come from the stars, and that we're here with one soul for 26,000 years. And then we choose, so that's the energy, and then we go somewhere else. So we're obviously all immortal. That doesn't mean people can't do damage, but we're all immortal. And so the belief is that we come from the stars, and then here we needed a body, and the body houses the soul. And now that we are encased, we see less. So there's loads of stuff, and so when astrology came to me, I was rejecting it, because when numerology came to me, which was 10 years before astrology, I know this is obviously numbers. And I have memories from childhood when the teacher said, we have one F in maths, and everybody would chant my name. I was the poster child for not being good at mathematics. And it did hurt me back then and made me feel small. So I told the universe to do one. I'm not looking at it. And then I noticed you can do this bite size. And so eventually I gave into the teachings, and it was like amazing what you can find out and how you can redirect and help others with it. It's just amazing. And then when astrology came, I had the same response, leave me alone, and then looked at it. And it's one of the most rewarding things I do when people say to me, like, I'm lost, and then you write 25 pages just about themselves, which they also have never seen, that someone can talk about themselves for 25 pages, and the feedback has been so far, because I oftentimes don't meet these people. I have people that sort of live in Mexico, and I send them as a folder or something. And I don't ask for feedback, because I can't remember the astrology reports, because my job is I write it, I do my work, and then I let it go. I also don't remember people, which has bit me in the back quite numerous times, when people just nod at me and then I don't respond. And then I get this bloody German speech again, So again, I find it very funny. But I sometimes get this feedback where people say to me in the middle of nowhere, from anywhere, miles away, how did you know that? I said, I didn't. It's in the stars. I'm just here to put that on paper.
I know. But
I have no opinion. I have no opinion, No,
but it's rare because, there's so much noise, right? There's so much people vying for our attention. And to have that very focused thing, like you said, on one person, and to give them all that information about themselves, and of course it's resonating, because like you say, it's not like coming from you directly, you're just channeling it, as basically. I think it's a rare gift. I really do. And I'm of the belief that you can't know yourself enough. I think that
absolutely.
all of these different elements,
and they're meant as guidance. So when let's just say for fun, so your moon sign is Taurus.
Yes.
So Taurus, by default, as an imprint, is very focused on family. So you will therefore very likely attract people that may not care all that much about family, so that you say no and manifest a partner that would love one. But because it is your imprint, that difficulty will come to you. Because
I'm like that. Oh my God, I'll be in red for the film.
No, but that's how this works. There's no plain sailing, because it all comes with lessons and teachings, right? And the point was that there was a time when anybody would have been given an astrology report at birth. So the family knew, okay, this is how you respond to this. So this is where you very likely will find difficulties, so they could prepare you. And I do this very ancient. So when I studied this, nobody said I can't touch my folder. But I sort of intuitively know this is not for me. I can't touch the folder. It's one of those weird things. Then when I looked at the ancient ways, they would also not touch it. So it made sense to me, but I didn't know. It was just me, so I felt that. And what funny is, I write a report, and for the most part, I call them deluxe, which means I print them on good paper that lasts the ages. Then I apologize to the universe for not saving trees, And I put them in these folders, and then I just ship them. And I go, and it again cracks me up. I'm have a lot of fun. I go to the post office wearing gloves at any given month, and you can see them looking at me like, right, that guy is back. And so I have my report in my hand with gloves. Check if they fit in an envelope. Right. Once they fit, I put it aside, take off my gloves, write the address, put the gloves back on to put the report in. And then people go like, "Are you okay?" Yeah, I'm fine. why are you wearing gloves? You know, but there was a time when the idea was my energy cannot affect yours.
Yeah.
So when people advise, they advise from their point of view, even when they mean well. So if they can't see that the path you chose could be successful, they will automatically advise against it.
Yeah.
And so the concept of non-touch, if that makes sense, makes sense in astrology.
Yeah.
You know, and I just roll with the punches because people always look at me like, gosh, this guy, you know, but you get used to this. I don't even remember that I wear the gloves. I just wear them because I need to touch the astrology report. Yeah. And then also, this is England. For the most part, people don't say anything. They just look at me and then they look the other way. So it's not that in your face here, but you can still sense it. And I was lucky.
We kind of give you the look, right?
Yeah.
And the eye roll.
It was funny because the people behind the glass at the post office, they are both from India or Indian descent. Right. And then this one woman says, why are you wearing gloves? What is this you do? And I said, I write astrology reports. He goes, oh my God, my ancestors used to do this. And so like, look no further, I do it now. And they both booked one. I said, yay. Didn't have to stand it at all. I had to just bring it there with my gloves on.
Of course.
But it is moments like this where you realize that the ancient knowledge sits inside you. And once you get to that point where it is important to trigger it, it'll come to you. That's why the most important thing that anybody can learn is to trust your intuition.
I love that. And so true. It's so true.
And for all of you out there who watch this is your hand. On both sides of the hand, that point in the middle is your intuition spot. We have 108 pressure points known as meridians. You touch this very gently. You tell your intuition, your solar plexus, right? I'm paying more attention to my surroundings because there's a gut-brain connection. And all you need to do when you struggle is press that button gently. I have done this for years. It doesn't help you in intimate relationships because the universe is saying we only learn in intimate relationships, so we can't give you heads up.
Yeah.
But if you go to a meeting and people say, oh, I want to run an idea past you, and you press that button, you already know if they already have made up their mind and they're just saying it to you because they already decided, they're just playing you, or you kind of go, and then half the time I go like, jerk. Because it does work.
I love that. I mean, that's such a hack. We're all going to be doing it. You'll see people walking around being like...
And it is not that weird because when people go to massage and have gone for millennia, obviously we manipulate certain parts that are not where the pain sits often to relieve it.
Yeah.
So this whole idea of us being in a body that houses our spiritual core has always been known and always been there.
Yeah.
And so that's why I say to people,
the noise of the world has disconnected us from our own power and our own truth.
Totally.
And to the point that a lot of people don't even realize that they have that power and that truth that's sitting in them. And it's such a surprise. I mean, I say to people all the time, I was 14 years ago that I awakened and started to tap into my own truth and power. And so people go, oh, I can never do what you do. And I'm like, yeah, you could. I always see people, I'm special and not special at the same time. All I did was practice and work on that connection and trust that connection. Even now, imposter syndrome is very real, as I'm sure you know. Even now, there are times where I'm like, this is not going to go well. And then I'm like, oh, it went really well.
No, absolutely. I'm surprised at it as well myself.
Yeah, absolutely.
But so this insecurity is also built in. Otherwise, you would not be open enough for new experiences.
Yeah, exactly.
But, people, it is really important for people to understand that everything you say has energy. So when you say, I could never do what you do, you already say that you can't do it. That's a good way of manifesting it.
Yeah.
So if we all had like this feeling of, maybe I could do it, rather than being this dismissive energy.
I love the word yet. So you say, I can't do it yet. Because what that does, it opens you up to possibility.
Absolutely. Right. But if someone says, I could never do that, you have to, I always redirect them. This is the good thing because I'm German and we have a bad reputation. So it's actually, I notice this because no matter where I go, you talk to people, we're always on the bottom of the list when it comes to liked nations. Because obviously we were the villains of the 20th century. So I understand that. But it helps me because I can be direct and people just know that bloody Germans, of course they're direct.
Yeah.
But I can be much more direct and help people much faster by just saying to them, stop talking like this.
Yeah.
Because I hear, obviously, I mean, I love you guys. That's why I live here.
Yeah.
Right. But you're the only country that I know of that has a saying, if you haven't got anything nice to say, don't say anything at all. So my brain is like, so how are we figuring stuff out? How do we, so it just, again, cracks me up, but for the most part, I have, because I can be more direct, and even if I didn't want to be direct, I can't help it because I sound that way. There's nothing I can do about my accent, unfortunately. There were days where I kind of like, would be lovely if I had a French accent or anything, not this, kind of stuff, but it is my heritage. It is what it is.
I know, I get that because I'm originally from, I was born in Merseyside, which is opposite Liverpool, people that don't know. So if I can have a Scouse Liverpoolian accent, and and I'm still there, it slips out occasionally. You can take the girl to Liverpool, and there is an expectation. Even so, it's not just country to country; it's regional, and there is the expectation. And I've heard, like you, I'm sure, have heard all of the jokes, all of the comments, all of the, expectation again of, oh, you must be like that because that's where you're from. And I'm like, you don't know me. I know nothing about me. You can't listen to my voice and think you know me, right?
Yeah. But I have people, I live in Cannock at the moment, and I have had people in Cannock complaining to me because I say, all right. And they say, like, that's too brummy. I was like, well, I lived in Birmingham before I moved here. And they say to me, like, well, you've been living here now for 5 years. You should say it. And I just kind of go like, number one, don't tell me what I can and cannot do. Number two, it makes no sense to me. My brain doesn't go there because I cannot hear myself saying, all right. I don't hear that at all. But people have pointed it out to me that I'm not making enough effort to be a Canockidian. And I was like, I'm from Frankfurt. Hello. And it's interesting, instead of engaging, that they are focusing on division.
Yes, absolutely. Yes, absolutely. There is more that connects us, not similarities that divides us in our differences. But people don't like to think that. People like to go, oh, look at her or look at him, and aren't they weird or aren't they different? And it's so unhelpful,
Absolutely. But oftentimes they have been conditioned to think that way. Absolutely. Which is why I always say to them, once you get to that point where you say, regardless of what my family thinks, what my friends think, I feel this and I'm investing in myself. The downside is that we probably have all experienced. You openly are your spiritual self. A lot of people around you do not grow the way you grow, and you have to find a new tribe. Everybody I've ever known has lost someone close to them because they just weren't on the same hymn-sheet anymore. And the advice is always the same: keep going.
Yeah,
it's absolutely. Just easier said than done.
Of course it is.
When you say it will just be a footnote at some stage, but it isn't now. So I get that. But my advice to people is always the same. You can be afraid and then not do what I believe you came here to do. And we need more healers. So any person that says, I'm going to see this through, I'm going to be a Reiki master, and yes, there's a million, but they will never be you. People say that to me all the time, about people doing what I do. And for the most part, I don't even know what it is I do, because I just do so many different things that I just do, right? So I don't put myself in boxes. And even if I would be at a shamanic event, which I have been, and there's 15 of us, of us in that box, I'm still me. And luckily I see so many different people that do exactly what I do, but come from a completely different angle. And it's amazing to talk to people and see, oh, that's how you do it. How interesting.
Exactly. And when I did my English and drama degree at university, and one of my English lecturers said to us, I think it was a creative writing course, and he said, if I gave you all the same characters, the same location, the same themes, all the same, you would each write a different story. He said, absolutely. Because you are each different people. He said there is no such thing as an original idea. And obviously he felt the energy in the room go, ugh, because obviously at university, you want to change the world, right? You want to put your stamp on things.
Yeah.
And he said, I do not tell you that to depress you. I tell you that to free you. He said, stop trying to be original. You are original because you are you.
Yeah.
Just go into the world and be yourself, and you will put something original out there. And it was a stay with me, because we're so trying to be like all the time. And it's like, you don't have to prove anything. Just be yourself.
Yeah, and we even have a phrase in Frankfurt. I don't know if it's a whole German thing, but when we see someone that we think is a complete knobhead, or whatever you want to call it, right? We say in our minds, "My life could be worse. It could be you." So when we so before you go into your spiritual self and stop thinking that way, when we have that moment, we kind of say like, "Luckily, I'm not you."
Yeah.
And there's even a song by Motorhead,
Yeah.
English rock band, and in the song he says, "I can't believe you exist." And that literally what it means in the German directness, but it is not phrased that way.
Yeah.
And so this otherness, you then see that you're special. So when people say to me like, "Oh, you sound too much like from Birmingham," then obviously they're trying to divide themselves. And me being a traveler, being on a journey, and I go wherever I feel life is good, and where I can do my work. I don't have any thoughts on anything. I just enjoy having the chase 5 minutes away from here. I'm moving in with my girlfriend in Warsaw. I'm 2 minutes away from the Arboretum, because I want my nature. So I'm always falling on my feet somehow. So luckily, over the decades, I've learned, because when you have to do it when nobody else is around, you develop a bit of a strength, because you have no option. You can't say, "Okay, I'm not doing it. I give up." So when you don't have that option, it doesn't occur to you. And once you stop saying to yourself, "I could fail," you have a better chance of not entertaining the idea.
Yeah, absolutely.
So from that point of view, I always found being someone that sort of goes from place to place, even though I'm not really that nomadic. I mean, I've been living in the same place now for 6 years, which for me is quite a bit. I think it is freeing, and it's the same thing when people say I've worked as an accountant for 40 years. That's all I know. And then the universe goes, "No, you know so much more. You just haven't tapped into it." Hence the idea not wearing universe gloves. I just had to tap into this, and then I remembered, I shouldn't touch it. So
that's the thing. Like I saw a video, and there was a guy. He's a spiritual healer and teacher, and he said the universe is always saying yes to you. So totally. Wherever you're affirming, the universe says yes. So if you say, for example, the money is coming, the universe goes yes. Okay, it's always coming. It will never be yours. If you go, all men are knobheads, then okay, that's your reality. All men are knobheads.
Absolutely. Right? Yeah.
So absolutely. You have to be so, and again, it's not to say that you kind of panic when you say something negative. It's what is your energy going to consistently? What are you repeating to yourself over and over again on a daily basis? That's what you're giving your energy to, and that's absolutely. What you get back.
Absolutely. And even as a word, it sounds negative when you talk about reprogramming.
Yeah.
So I call it redirecting, but you owe it to yourself to be good to yourself.
Yeah.
Because if you can't be good to yourself, the universe can't send you anyone who is good to yourself, because you're not expecting it.
Yeah.
I have these conversations because obviously I'm the first bloke on your show. And people always point that out in my work, that I seem to be the exception, and I have no idea what experience they have. It just means that they haven't seen a guy hitting a gong. So I just look at it. I don't even understand the concept. Why is this so important? But
let me just shut that window, because there's a lawnmower outside. It's really distracting. There you go. I don't want people to not hear you because there's some guy with a lawnmower outside. Anyway, real life podcast, right?
It's all good.
It's true, and that's the thing, because spiritual men, in my experience, and I know, but in my experience, they are either full of their own ego and full of want the fame and the power, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Which is not that's not just men. I've seen women like that as well.
Yeah. Or me too. Yeah.
Or they're completely almost overly connected to their sensitivity and their feminine energy, and a lot of them are gay, which is fine.
Which is why it was assumed ally, that there must be.
It seems like they're either like hyper masculine or they're hyper feminine. Yeah. There doesn't seem to be any kind of balance in that space, in my experience.
Absolutely. And again, when you look at astrology, there is a planet of change, which is Uranus, which I can't pronounce. It always sounds rude when I say it. Yeah. But that planet, that one, is one of the outer planets, and it's known as the planet of sudden and unexpected change. And there's 2 planets in our solar system that are gender fluid, or non-gender specific. Let's put it this way. Yeah. There's Mercury, who has no gender, and there's Uranus. And the only planet that is gender fluid, if you want to go in that direction, would be Uranus.
Mm-hmm.
So therefore, expecting that you're fixed just because you're a man, or you're fixed just because you're a woman and you can't look at things. People make it sexual. There's not 1 ounce of this having to be sexual. But we all carry the divine masculine and the divine feminine in ourselves. So in shamanism, for instance, when you look at the Native American branch, everything is owed, if you want to go that road, by the female.
Mm-hmm.
Because the idea is that obviously you are the more evolved beings, because we have this testosterone. So by default, if you annoy me, I just kick your head in and we're done. So this is obviously energy that's not always true, but you understand that. So the aggression can override common sense.
Mm.
And so having female or feminine or teachers, divine feminine teachers, makes more sense.
Yeah.
Right. So that is all wanted. It's all designed to a certain extent. So what I mean by this is that the universe obviously also functions in certain ways. Mm-hmm. And when you have for people out there who see their own guides, you will notice that when you go from summer to autumn, they might talk to you stronger than before, because when people say the veil is thinner, it has simply to do with the fact that the air molecules in autumn flow differently. And what the guides agree to, no matter where you're from, because we're not from here, is to not bend the physics of the universe. So sometimes we are in this spring idea where they can come back, and then when winter has the energy of north is the energy of purity, but also the energy of hardship. So we feel everything much stronger, especially the things that are difficult, which means our vibration lowers, and then our guides do not override it. Mm. So I notice, especially shamanically, we look at directions and how do you feel there? Can I put myself? So the whole feng shui idea, is all connected. I mean, there wasn't a term for feng shui; they just did it that way. Yeah, so it doesn't really matter. You find in many different cultures and healing modalities, you find the idea, put that chair over there and life is good, which can be weird to people, But the point I'm always making is be in nature. There is no better teacher and no better ally than a teacher. And eventually you also get used to the fact that people look at you weirdly when you talk to a tree guide. And I get that. When you hug a tree and then when you're lucky enough and you can see the guide showing up, right? And you have a conversation with a tree guide. I mean, you're not talking out loud there, but people can see that you're somehow doing something. Mm-hmm. And for the most part, they just don't know what to do, right? But you know that you're being watched, because it's nothing that we have, right? I mean, we all have that I've been watched energy here, survival instinct. Yeah. So I always say to people, at the end of the day, if you're a person that is indoors for 10 hours a day, how can you expect to really feel anything? Mm. So you have to go out. And I have heard people saying like, yeah, but this is England. So yes, so what? This is England. I think it's one of the most beautiful countries I've ever been in. And just because it is not 50 degrees makes no difference to me.
Billy Connolly, the Scottish comedian, says there is no such thing as the wrong weather, there's just the wrong clothes.
Oh, absolutely. And I believe him. But the point is that people find excuses.
Of course, absolutely.
So the question then becomes, is this a trauma? Where does it come from? Why are you not interested in helping yourself? Very likely because your self-esteem is now low.
Yeah.
Which is where I find that humor is a really, really great thing. So I have people come to me and they say like, I know it's just the way I am. And it doesn't always translate well. I had a lady come to me and says like, I wanted to kill myself this morning. And I said to her, well, at least you paid me up front. And, and she started laughing. And once she started laughing, I said, see, that's better, because the car that brought you here would have done the trick. So like, you don't wire 50 quid to a stranger, right? Said, next time you want to do this, send me 1,000. So I made my humor thing. And she was like, oh my God, what am I saying? I said, yeah, you just needed to see that from a different point of view.
Yeah.
So sometimes you hold people and they stop releasing. So in my work, when people start crying and I know they come with another person, I separate them by a chair.
Yeah.
So I do this. it's just me. I'm just doing this. Can you sit over here for an exercise? So I just divide them. And because I'm just telling them with my Germanness, I've never had anybody fighting me because I go, okay, that's weird. But they do it. And I noticed when people are not necessarily held when they're releasing, they keep releasing. And once I feel, okay, they have had their little breakdown, their little release, that's when I then invite the people to send them healing and hug them.
Yeah, because when you're being, and I mean, we all love a hug. I mean, hugs are amazing.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
But when you're releasing, and it's really interesting because I'm just thinking about what you're saying. When you are being hugged as a British person, specifically, it becomes about the other person. So what you're doing subconsciously is I'm making them feel uncomfortable, and also they need to know that they're giving me comfort and that what they're doing is working. So I will put a cap on my release and I will calm down.
Absolutely.
Even if you haven't released everything, right?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. And again, in astrology, we believe that this is based on the fact that the UK, as the only country on the planet, sits exactly. So obviously, your very place has a latitude, but the latitude, every country has its own latitude.
Yeah.
And the latitude of the UK is the exact latitude where the jet stream transports our weather.
Mm-hmm.
So when we go through changes, it is right happening, even though it's happening for the world, over the UK. So therefore, people find it very, very difficult to stay happy.
Yeah.
Because the change energy, Uranus, is constant here.
Yeah. Which is, you know,
right?
For everyone who lives here and was born here, yay, right?
Yeah. I mean, I get phone calls from Germany. I don't do politics. I don't watch TV at all. And then every now and then I get a phone call from my son. He goes like, did you have 4 prime ministers in a year? And I was like, I haven't noticed, possibly. So from him point of view, he's like, what is wrong with you? He said, with me. He said, no, with the English, you know? And I was like, what? I don't know what you want me to, what do you want me to say? I really don't care. It makes no difference. You know, but they see it and they kind of go like, oh my God, England is losing it. There's another guy. He's not the PM. So the point is they observe you from a distance, know nothing about you, but have an opinion.
Yeah.
And that is the majority of people. And my experience is, unless you live with someone, you can go to a place for 4 months and not understand the people. It can take years before you understand the culture you're actually in.
Yeah.
So apart from my accent, I do believe I have a good grasp of the English language. So I could probably survive anywhere. But learning a culture, understanding a culture, takes a long time.
It's so true. I mean, I haven't lived in a different country, but I have lived in 3 separate places in the UK.
Yeah.
And there is, I don't think it's a full understanding that there's so many different cultures in the UK itself. And then there's accents and, history and culture. It's such a mixed bag of people that even moving from the Northwest to the Midlands, and now I live in East Anglia, that each of those separate places have their own culture, and it takes time to assimilate. It takes time to be accepted and to kind of fit into that community.
Absolutely. And people, the downside is that people enjoy that separation. I hear that all the time. We're not in the Midlands anymore, and I just go like, yeah. So the train tells me. I don't understand what it means. I just go like, okay. To me, it's like a statement, you know. But in Germany, so how we see the world when we grew up, I was born in 1967. When I grew up as a child, the only thing we ever knew about England is BBC English, and people on balconies wearing top hats. So for the longest time, we thought you would all walk around, hello, good afternoon. That's what we clearly believed. And then we explored, David Bowie and all that kind of stuff. And we're like, okay, so it's not all that. What happens is, so the Germans, obviously that is my background. When we talk about the English, again, generalizing, we think you're the most eccentric beings on the planet.
Well, we are, but
The moment you have 5 prime ministers in a year, you become island apes. This is it. You mess up your island apes, which is a derogatory term for any island nation on the bloody planet.
Yeah.
And it's just hilarious. And I can tell by the phone calls, you're right with the island apes. I said, well, okay, what's happening? And then they just tell me something about politics. And then when I check what's going on in Germany, it's the same crap. You know, and that's another thing that I always notice. I haven't got any interest in lowering my vibration unless someone stands in front of my door and wants something for me, right?
Yeah.
Whatever I need to see, I need to see. So when I go shopping, all of a sudden there's a headline, and I was okay. You're showing this to me for a reason, but being in the moment cannot be achieved by thinking about what the other person on the television just possibly could have meant.
Yeah. Exactly, especially because it's all, you know, again, they're thinking about how they're being perceived and, you know, their own political agenda and trying to get the votes and the public opinion. And so absolutely. It's like you can't base your own emotional self and your own thoughts on that stuff because you don't even know if what you're hearing is true. You don't even know through what lens it's coming at you, you know? So again, it comes back to what is your truth? What is your, again, that intuition thing, right? What is your truth?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that is the most important teaching. Once people sit with themselves, I see it all the time. So I say to them shamanically, let's go into a cave. Just envision a cave and there's nothing in the cave, but it's not dark. And then I say again, now you can see a little light. And then I say, can you see the light? And say, I can't see the light. I say, well, again, here's a torch, you know, light it, you know, so you help people, you know, and again, it can be done with humor. Just say like, oh, by the way, you have a torch in your hand, don't burn yourself, use it for the light. So you distract them by making it lighthearted, because once they doubt, oh my God, I can't see the light yet, they go into, I can't achieve it. So I redirect with using a torch. In the end, I want them to have the light on. If not, I just bring someone in with the light, you know, because so, right? And then I say to them, like, so now the light gets wider and there is a guide next to the light. And that's all you need to be with.
Yeah.
And then I let them interact. And because it is not guided, I don't tell them what to expect, which means I don't program them in any shape or form. For the most part, they come back and say like, oh my God, and he showed me this and he showed me this. So it's all these things that haven't been worked through, they show up. And I love this about my guides, because the Native American guides by default are quite nice. What I mean by this, I work with a lot of guides, luckily, and some of them they could be Germans. So what I mean by this, they're very. So I don't mean, obviously I haven't got a bad you know, I don't see the Germans as bad, but I notice sometimes me saying stuff and people are going to go, whoa, I know, okay, didn't translate so well. That's what I mean. You know, and some of my guides can be really in your face. You know, and the Native Americans are very understanding. They just sit with me. You know, just sit with me. You know, I you don't have to do anything. You know, and I quite like that, because people then find I have got nothing to do. I don't have anything to prove. Nobody's judging me. And you just put them into a cave. So what I use in my weekends, I have sensory pods. And then I put them in there. So it mimics the cave. You know, and then I have see, I used to be a drummer, and I said, I'm going to buy myself a drum kit and I'm going to be in a rock band. Don't mind the fact that I'm 57. I was like, yeah, I'm going to do this again. So I bought myself an electronic drum kit, the size of England. I mean, couldn't play. Had to really practice to get it played. Then eventually got a phone call from the council. Is there a drum kit in your house? And I was like, well, it's electronic anyway. So in the end, I had to give it up. But what I did is, I bought a 7-foot, like a tapestry thing with stars. And you can press a button, and then the stars all change.
Okay.
And then I sold the drum kit, said forget about being in a band. You know, and now I have that 7-foot thing. And when I do shamanic work, I put it in a room behind the sensory pods, and automatically it resembles the canyon where I always go first with my clients. And while I have all sorts of tools, people come in there and they kind of go like, whoa. And I am a bit weird. So I have these log fires. And obviously they have a fan, because obviously there's no real fire. So they have to blow up and it's loud. So I bought a machine that makes that sound and made it louder. So, so people come in and then there's this crackling of fire and again, I see them come in, not sure, should I put something over my hand, over my ears, or should I just go with it? So from my point of view, every single time I do a workshop, it cracks me up 10 times. And then eventually I do an exercise where people are, and I say to them, like, write everything down and we go outside and we burn it. And eventually, almost all the time, they see the artificial log fires with that massive crackling sound that clearly comes from a machine that is plugged in. They put the paper into the artificial fire because their brain is telling them, here's the fire, I want to burn it. And it shows you what associations can do.
Yeah.
That's why I'm saying to people, right, instead of having negative thought patterns, put a sign up. I'm beautiful. I'm awesome. Right? Say it in first person, not you are. Say it. I'm awesome. I'm stunning. I'm a good person. I am enough. Right? And the hardest thing for people is to actually do it. Right? Because it's the self-acknowledgement. But it doesn't cost a lot. So I have these empowerment cards that I got from Amazon or wherever I got them from.
Yeah.
And I just slip them to people. Right? So when they come to my work, I have a mantra. I will redirect it so I don't swear on your show. I have a mantra card for people, and it says, I'm an effing legend. And I give it to people. And for the most part, it cracks them up. And I have had a lady who she's about to retire, and she put that little note. It's not so little, it's an A4 thing, right? I'm an effing legend. And the boss was like, okay then, and left her alone. So the feedback is always the same. People don't know what to do with it, but they know that you're standing your ground by having swear words in it.
Yeah.
And so I give them that. And then I say to them, like, dream, So I try to encourage people with visual energy, because a lot of people only see the hardship.
Yeah.
And because that's what they attract, they will also then oftentimes attract people around them being negative. Yeah. And then some places, doesn't matter how high your energy is, are a tad negative. Right? So it comes to you, so you can redirect it. So as a healer, we come across a lot of stuff that a lot of people probably don't see.
Yeah, absolutely.
But being positive is the one and only thing, I think, that really makes a difference to how you live your life and how your teachings and your will progress.
I love that, Thomas, and I totally agree with you. And I know, like, when we contacted and I said, by being on my podcast, I knew we would have a great chat, and it's just full of richness and full of so many great takeaways. And I know that people watching this, regardless of where they are in their journey, I know that there's something that will have resonated, and they, people are going to walk away, and some of your words are really going to stay in their head. I mean, I know that I'm going to have some great takeaways myself. So genuinely, thank you for your time. Thank you for your wisdom.
You're welcome.
Thank you for your kindness. And I hope that you guys watching this have been as inspired as I have. Where can we find you online?
Well, online, if you go, I post everything on Facebook. I don't really have a lot of online stuff because it's just not me, but I have a Facebook page called facebook.com/wildtimeradio, because I'm that old that I used to work for radio. And when I went on Facebook in 2007 or whatever it was, so I never bothered to change it. That said, if you type in my name, Thomas Janak, there's only one that looks like me. Right? So that you can do that. And then I do a daily card for the day on TikTok @Tom Janak.
Lovely. I'll put all the links down here.
Absolutely.
So
and I will send it to you, because unfortunately on TikTok, apparently people say to me, my account has been cloned 1,000,001 times.
Yeah.
And I said, I get that. And I have reported it, but nobody does anything about it. So my only account is Tom Janak, no dots, no nothing.
Yeah,
so it's Tom Janak, and that's all there is to it.
Fabulous. So go and check him out and get inspired. And if you want to connect with him and find out more about the work he does, I'm sure he would be open to that conversation.
Oh, absolutely. I would love it.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So guys, thank you again, Thomas. Thank you for such a great chat. Thank you for watching this, guys. I hope, like I say, it's inspired you, it's empowered you, it's made you feel yummy, and I will definitely catch you on the next one. I hope you and Thomas, everybody has a really good day. Take care.
Bye-bye.
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 Bye-bye.